You're watching the Isaiah Factor Uncensored.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight and sticking with us, and welcome to the second half of the Factor Uncensored. Now, Congress may finally be cracking down on who can get their hands on a gun. For the first time in decades, we're actually seeing both sides of the aisle come together for some gun safety legislation. Some of the things on the list includes red flag rules that could stop someone from buying a weapon by a judge. Those under 21 would have to pass a mental health background check and increase security at schools, just to name a few. Now, what many Democrats wanted on that list that they're not seeing is an all-out ban on assault rifles like AR-15. But the Republican side of the aisle is not agreeing to that just yet. So we have to see what they finally come up with. But right now, 10 Republicans have sided with the Democrats on this legislation in the Senate, and that's where it needs to pass. So let's dive into it tonight with our guests here on the Factor Uncensored.
So, Cody, from Sandy Hook, where you served as a school board during that tragedy, served on the school board during that tragedy, your thoughts on this legislation that we're looking at?
I think if we're starting to look at more of a mental health issue that they're trying to deal with, I think that's going to be the way this is going to work, right? There's so many guns in this country, and we've discussed this on many times. There's so many guns in this country. To try to make a law, try to eliminate any kind of specific type of gun or any kind of specific type of weapon is probably kind of futile at this point, right? There's so many guns, it's impossible to kind of squeeze that down. So once we start getting into more mental health, and maybe like we're looking at, maybe if somebody under the age of 21, screen them a little bit and try to understand what their motivations are, try to understand what these people are trying to do. If there's some way we can get into any kind of mind of these guys to try to understand why they're doing it before they do it, I think that's a step in the right direction.
State Representative Ron Reynolds, I'm sure you would like to have seen a ban on assault rifles, but that did not happen, or it doesn't appear to be happening. Your thoughts on what we're looking at legislatively in Washington, D.C. when it comes to gun issues?
Isaiah, I'm very optimistic that they will get this done. It was a step in the right direction. Certainly, there was a lot of trepidation from me and some others who wanted them to raise the age on assault weapons purchases to 21. But at least they did put it so there's an enhanced background check for those who are under 21 years of age, and red flag laws, and then significant investments in mental health. I would have liked to see an AR-15 assault rifle ban. I would have liked to see universal background checks. So there are some other things that I would have liked to see, but this is a step in the right direction. This shows that the American people are making progress from the marches, from the protests, and it shows that Congress is finally paying attention. The NRA probably doesn't like it, but at least we have a step in the right direction. So I think this is something to build on. I'm optimistic that the U.S. Senate is going to get this passed, and we can at least have some significant progress, more than hopes and prayers. So I'm optimistic. I want to see a lot more, but you have to start somewhere.
And of course, the NRA has already put out a statement once this was announced, saying they were not for legislation that would impede the right of Americans to own guns. Chief Jimmy Dotson, too little, too late? Will this make a difference in the future? Did we go far enough?
Well, it's a start. I don't think we've gone far enough. In fact, I think it's just the first step of 1,000 miles as far as I'm concerned. Certainly, I would have liked to see more legislation regarding the reduction of the assault rifles, not only for the sake of our children in school campuses, but also for our police officers on the street, because these things are outgunning our police officers. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. That would be my first step that I'd like to see done. I would also continue like to make sure that they are funding the mental health aspect of what we need in our country. But in my personal opinion and my experience, I think when it comes to protecting our children at school, I like to see them put in what they call safe rooms in every classroom. Because that way, if we put in safe rooms in every classroom, even if the intruder does breach the security of the school building itself, there is a backup system that every teacher can immediately put those kids in that safe room. And that safe room should be made of cast iron and steel, which I know is very expensive, but when it comes to our students' lives, what is most important? And that's what I like to see done. But it's the first step of 1,000 miles as far as I'm concerned. And I hope it doesn't stop here.
And Cody, you've lived through this before. You know what it's like to lose children in schools as part of being on the school board with Sandy Hook. What would you like to see more of? Obviously, mental health has always been an issue for you, number one. But what else would you like to see in the form of legislation that could end gun violence on school campuses?
Well, even though I've been through this type of event, I'm very much a realist, right? Look, when we rebuilt the school in Sandy Hook, once we tore down the old one, we had to rebuild a whole new one, right? It was already going on 40 to 50 years old, and it was time for us to kind of like put it to rest. And, maybe I think one of the things that we could probably do if we look going forward, any new schools that are being built, be built with the type of architecture in mind to make sure that it is difficult as possible for some of these events to happen. For instance, if there had just been some kind of like notification, if that door would have been left open in the back of Uvalde, that school, the back door in Uvalde, the back door was, maybe there was some kind of sensor or some kind of alarm that set off. So it was notified that it was left open or unlocked. That would have gone a long way to keeping this guy from getting in, right? Because in Newtown, we literally made that school so there was a double entry. You cannot get in. You had to have a bulletproof front door, and then you'd had to get through that and another door in order to get into the school itself. So there was hardened points of entry in order for people to, if anybody had any kind of, evil intentions to get into the school, that they had to go through, a much more stricter, security. I think if we did something like that for any new schools being built going forward, because it would be so expensive doing it for every school. But if you could at least start with the new schools going forward, I think that would be a huge help.
You're absolutely right. We have to start somewhere. We want to thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored, and we'll just have to wait and see what we get from Congress. Thank you all.
Now, if you think you don't have any skin in the game, like children in school that you're concerned about when it comes to guns, then there's also the so-called boyfriend loophole that will deal with people who are dating. Now, if you're involved in any kind of domestic violence or convicted of domestic violence, then you would not be allowed to own a gun or possess a gun as well. So we will see where Congress will go with this legislation and if they will finally pass it. So we will monitor it here on The Factor Uncensored.